Back here on First Things First, we're going viral. The Blazers, they beat the Warriors last night. And after the game, Evan Turner settled a bet with Draymond Green concerning their alma mater. Take a listen.
The first time I start coming in, he'll figure it out.
You owe me $100
process. What? Oh, I do.
You probably owe me double.
I got you right now.
I'll get that right.
I owe you for football too, huh?
Yeah, damn. But that 30
Wait,
point.
did we beat y'all in football?
No.
You sure?
No, yo, and that 30 point.
We beat Michigan.
And that 30 point blowout is a little extra too, right now. Thank you, my good man. As you say, always a pleasure. Big 10 for life. Keep it classy.
For sure. Love. Like that. Yeah, so we just kind of figure it out.
What do you think about that, CC?
No, I'm all for it. Coach Izzo, man, I need that 100, man. You and I bet on the football game. Coach Izzo's a good friend of mine.
Okay.
Watches the show also.
Oh,
but
good deal.
I'm all for a little wager,
Yeah.
especially people who can afford it.
Absolutely. What'd you say, Doug?
Oh, I mean, you betting on your alma mater? I wouldn't do it on my alma mater because we can't figure out basketball-wise. We win on the road against Kansas and West Virginia, then lose at home to K-State last night, and we're down 17 at the half. But football, I'll take somebody's money.
So basketball this season, my Heels are, in this moment, looking pretty good.
Yes.
But we all know how things change when we go into March. But with that, time for some stories to start your morning. The Raiders will reportedly be moving on from kicker Sebastian Janikowski after 18 seasons with the team. CeCe, how will you remember Janikowski's time with the Raiders?
Man, a great player. He overcame a lot of obstacles. Came into the league as a high draft pick from Florida State. Very, very rare. You're going to see a team make that type of investment in a kicker. Lived up to the expectations. Had some trouble off the field, but had a long and very, very successful career.
He's basically what Tampa thought Roberto Aguayo could have been, right? Roberto Aguayo also out of Florida State, taken second round. Seabass was first round.
Great example.
Aguayo didn't even make it to his second year with the team, whereas Seabass made it 18 years with the same team. That's pretty remarkable, any position. And look, not exactly a picture of health, but he was the picture of consistency. Anytime he lined up for a field goal, he had that iron leg. You felt like 70 and in, he had a shot to make it.
Yeah, that's the only body, his body, the way his body looks, that's the only position he can play on the football team. Kick.
Without a little
No, because you got to run down the field.
Yeah.
He would be too gassed for that.
Okay, with that, we're going to go on to the NBA. Anthony Davis, he had a huge night last night. Scored 42 points and grabbed 15 boards. His Pelicans beat the Lakers 139-117. Chris Carter, is Anthony Davis, hands down, no question asked, the best big man in the league?
Yeah, absolutely. And if you see, it's a play on words, the hands down and all that. There's a lot of good big men. But since Boogie Cousins got hurt, second in the league in scoring, I think 31.3 behind one and only James Harden. So he has shown that the Twin Towers, it did work. They were playing special basketball. But absent of Boogie, man, he's still a special player. His skill level, I believe, is unprecedented, even though the big man is making a comeback, Doug.
Well, I think Embiid actually would be better. The problem with Embiid is can you stay healthy, right? But Embiid has, I think, a better skill set in terms of scoring low post. He may not be the shooter and passer consistently and you know, look, shot blocker, they're a little bit different in terms of how they block shots. I would say Embiid has maybe skills that are not replicable, but Anthony Davis is right there. And the big part to me that the NBA needs to figure out is Karl Anthony Towns, Kristaps Porzingis, Anthony Davis.
We're in a special time.
We're in a special time. Can you find a way to change the rules so that you can bring back post play into the NBA? Because much like in football, the rules tell you should throw the ball, the rules tell you should shoot threes and spread out the court, not throw it into the low post. It's a low percentage, inefficient offense to throw to the low post.
Yes. And most importantly, Chris, because remember, you were outvoted 2-1. He's keeping the eyebrow.
Okay.
Finally, the Cavs. They've looked pretty great since revamping their roster near the trade deadline, but they almost made a different move. According to reports, Cavs ownership approved a deal to bring in DeAndre Jordan. But that trade hit a snag, so it didn't close. Chris Carter, are the Cavs lucky that it worked out the way that it did, or do you think they would be even better with Jordan?
Yeah, well, we talked earlier about those trades, the ones that you don't make. A lot of times they end up being the ones that you value the most. And I like the Cavs where they are because I just believe that I believe they're better right now, but also going into the future with their owner, Daniel Gilbert committing to the money to the salary cap and the luxury tax, like it shows a commitment long term. So I believe the chance of keeping LeBron James through the trades that they've made increases the probability of him staying in Cleveland. Now,
with or without a ring? With or without a ring, do you think?
I believe the ring, it does hold some type of on LeBron. I mean, it would be hard to leave with 2 championships in 4 years. We haven't seen anyone leave with a championship. So I think that the moves now potentially can keep LeBron long term. But in sitting here talking to Doug has kind of swayed me in talking about individual series, how they would be defensively in DeAndre Jordan. A case for him. So I could see it both ways. I like the youth now. You add 3 25-year-olds and 1 31-year-old. I like that.
That energy is undeniable.
Undeniable. There's no question that it's a B12 shot, right? You get a B12 shot, you feel better.
Absolutely.
But then eventually you come back down, and it all depends upon, do you take care of yourself and your
You got
health.
to maintain that.
Yeah, a little bit of this, what you're saying, is a Garth Brooks song. Are you guys familiar with Garth Brooks at all?
Come on, really?
Unanswered
Are you
prayers.
serious?
He goes to a high school football game,
you do.
and he starts thinking about his high school honey. She was the one forever. But then, now he's married, and his wife wasn't the high school honey. He was like, hey, some of God's greatest gifts are unanswered prayers.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what the Cavs are thinking. Like, what if the DeAndre Jordan trade went through? Would we have the same positive mojo, unanswered prayers? I think, and you're kind of bringing me to meeting you halfway.
Yes.
I think they're probably more likely to make the finals with their current roster, but I think they would be more likely to win in the NBA Finals with DeAndre Jordan on the roster. DeAndre Jordan is a superstar talent. Now, I understand that we all have the bias of negativity because of the free throw shooting of the past. He's not great yet, right? He's not Rick Barry. He's making about a 60% clip. Was 8 of 9 last night in a win over the Celtics.
Which is a drastic improvement.
But he's drastically improved, and he's the type of rim protector that you dream of having, and you just think he would guard Draymond Green and dare Draymond to shoot over the top of him. Otherwise, he'd patrol the lane and block shots. So I think had that trade gone through, and it didn't, but it's great, fodder for us here in sports radio. Had it gone through, they might not get the B12 shot. They might not feel as good emotionally as they do now, but I do think that it would make them more likely to compete and maybe beat the Warriors or the Rockets, whoever they play in the final.
And one of the points you made earlier that I thought was a tremendous point was we get caught up in the Golden State in their threes, but they shoot more layups. So having someone like DeAndre in the hole to be able to protect the rim is a huge asset in a series like that.
Right. That's part of what makes the Rockets good. That's part of what makes the Warriors good. We all track the three-point shooting and the three-point effective field goal percentage, but the reason that they can do without post play is because they shoot lots of layups, which is actually a more efficient shot than scoring in the low post.
Yeah, the layup's not as sexy, but incredibly valuable. I like it. We'll move on now to the Warriors. Kevin Durant, he had 50 points last night, but Golden State still took an L to the Blazers. Now, it seems KD and company still haven't gotten over all of the criticism they received when Steve Kerr let the players do the coaching earlier this week. KD says, and I quote, "Everybody just loves to hate on the Warriors. Whatever we do, they don't want to just say they hate us, so they're going to make excuses up on why they don't like us or why it was disrespectful. Who gives up? Fill in the blank." All right, Chris Carter, does Durant have a point here? Are people just hating on the Warriors?
No, there is a percentage of the population, a percentage of the media, because of Kevin Durant's decision, up 3-1 at OKC over Golden State. They go on to lose that series, which in turn, they're also the communication that he had with Draymond Green and others at Golden State during the season of potentially joining Golden State. Those things, because before that, man, people love Kevin Durant.
Oh, yeah.
But he needs to take a page, and because these guys were drafted by the Warriors and were there before they had this success, Draymond Green, Clay, and Steph. Take a page from them. You don't hear them complaining every game. Like, you don't hear them saying things like this, and the reason why is because they have kind of gotten used to it. Now, this is an iconic team. Like, I mean, this is no normal team. Like, they have potentially to win 3 out of 4 championships in an NBA during LeBron James's when he's playing in the stratosphere of his career. So they have an opportunity to be very, very special. And with that, you're going to have a lot of optics on you. But no, Kevin, and then the word everybody, no, you're wrong. It's not everybody. Actually, you and I, we talked about how we love watching Kevin Durant play, and we love the style of play, Doug, for which Golden State, they said no one could win at this style as far as passing the ball, taking threes. Like, no one can win at that style. We have seen in the last 3 years, they have disproved that, not only during the regular season, but in the postseason. It's just time for Kevin Durant to get over that. You can't always just play that chip. Everyone is against us.
This is who he is, though, right? I agree with you. Everybody doesn't hate him, right? And to the Steve Kerr allowing his players to coach, he was right. He knew he wasn't connecting with his players. Case in point, the fact they got run out of they warned us that they got run out of the gym by Portland last night, right? And everyone does hate everything on some level, especially on social media. But this is who Durant is, and we're actually partially to blame for it. Like, when he played in college basketball, no one called him out if he took a bad shot or if he didn't play defense. When he was in Oklahoma City and he was struggling against the Memphis Grizzlies, remember that series? And the Oklahoman had a headline, Mr. Unreliable.
Sure.
And it was as if somebody said something bad about his mom, right? It was, like, dude, we said you're normally reliable, and now you're not reliable. The newspaper apologized for a headline that said Mr. Unreliable. That's who this guy is. This guy hears all that chirping, and he overreacts to it, and he thinks everybody's out to get him. Now, maybe that's what motivates him. Scott Brooks is a dear friend of mine, and he was like, look, I've never seen a dude like this in terms of the ferocity of his work ethic. We get eliminated the playoffs. I would tell him to get away from basketball for a week or 2 weeks. He'd say, I got it. I got you, coach. He would fly back to D.C.
And those were all the stories that used to dominate the Kevin Durant. We didn't know about some guy sitting in his mama's basement. Well, we know mama's the real MVP, but
But like, dude, now he's
like as if he is.
Yes, absolutely.
But now he's trying to. He's got burner Twitter accounts, right? Now he's worried about this.
You know what it is, Doug? It's immaturity. You brought it up earlier, Chris Carter, and I think Kevin Durant, who I really both enjoy watching, like his personality, but more importantly, Kevin Durant, be more concerned with respect and less concerned with being liked. Because you are an adult, you are a professional in a professional league. But this is why it's important, because you can't have it both ways. After he went 3-1 and then they ultimately lost the series, he made the move that was in the best interest of his career. And I think it should be applauded. I respect it. Is everyone going to like it? No. But you can't expect everyone to congratulate you and cheer you on when you do what's in your own best interest.
But he's got two examples there right in front of him. He's got Steph Curry, who there was no player besides LeBron that was more beloved. Unanimous. MVP. I mean, his family, the story with Dale, everything. His wife starting the cooking show, everything.
Shots to the mom, Sonya. Absolutely.
Now all of a sudden, the wife complains about being late to the game. Now people are talking about Steph throwing his mouthpiece like he's a brat. Like, learn from that. And also LeBron James. You mentioned this in our conversation before. When LeBron originally went to Miami, losing the series to Dallas, he went through a lot of what Kevin Durant's going through. But LeBron embraced it the next year and said, listen, I'm not the guy these people are making me out. I'm not a villain. He can't play the villain. LeBron decided I'm not going to be the villain. I'm going to have a good time. That changed the arc of his career. Kevin Durant, with these two examples in LeBron and Curry, I believe could learn an awful lot.
I agree, but he's trying to play the villain in year 2, right? Like, he's second. Like, Kevin Durant is second in the NBA in most technical fouls. Like, you're like Draymond Green. That makes sense. Russell Westbrook. That makes sense. Kevin Durant, like, what?
Head scratcher.
Like, Kevin Durant, like, he's like a guy you like want to hug, right? Not a guy who you think is yelling at officials. So I do think he's struggling with that black hat syndrome, where he's so not used to ever receiving criticism, and everybody's always backed off the criticism.
He's been coddled.
No, he's been liked. Like, you're right.
And he's been coddled.
But when
changing that headline.
You said you'd rather be respected than liked. I agree with you. I'd rather have the respect of my peers than being liked by fans, right?
Absolutely.
That's absolutely. But when you've been liked or even loved by so many people, and now it's like, yeah, I respect you, but I don't like you as much, the coddling is right. We treat him with kid gloves, and this is what we've created.
Is that the baby? Baby KD?
That's the baby.
Oh, baby KD, so cute.
Let me get him some milk.
I'm not fooling with you, Chris
complaining.
Carter. Coming up.
I can't even say that.
Why does drama always seem to follow Isaiah Thomas? At some point, I think you got to ask yourself, is it you? I don't know. I'm just saying. That's next on First Things First.
It's hard to be small. It's hard being small. That's what they tell me.